First of which is Sheffield United sacking or parting by way of mutual consent with Chris Wilder. What are your thoughts on this, lads? Because I don't get it at all. Like, if they had done this 10 games ago, 12 games ago, I would have been like, okay, maybe they can get someone in who'll give them that new manager bounce. They might stand half a chance of staying up. But with 10 games to go, what is the point in this? Surely he would have been the best man to stay on for next season and get them promoted again. Because you seen there, they lost their first game without him 5-0 to Leicester. What is the sense in sacking someone like Chris Wilder now?
I personally think it was a stupid idea or decision to sack him. But I can understand if they have someone that they want to bring in as a long-term solution. So I know some of the names being thrown around were, I think one of them was Eddie Howe or something. Just using him as an example, say they had a long-term plan now in the future to have Eddie Howe come in and manage the side. I can understand bringing him in now for 10 games so he gets to know which players he actually likes, and then once he's in the championship next season, he knows which players he's going to keep and which ones he's going to sell, and he can build his team around that. I can understand that, but I don't think it was a good decision.
So I don't want to interrupt you there, but one thing that has been cleared up is that Dave Hockaday is going to be taking charge at the end of the season.
Oh, well, that's stupid. Yeah, absolutely stupid decision.
Yeah. Like, he failed.
Yeah. If they'd done that, I would be like, fine. If they had a long-term plan, put someone in for a few games, let them get to know the team. But that's a baffling decision. I didn't know that.
It's hard to fall into that trap, that modern football trap. The manager merry-go-round and be disillusioned with the game. It's a common talking point you opponents have, and you're kind of just like, here, cop on, lads. But it really is true in this case. Like, Chris Wilder had a phenomenal record with them before last season, just like up through the divisions like nobody's business. There was clearly the team morale was behind him. Like, it's a championship squad, really, and they were behind him. And to lose your two key centre backs, like, he was unlucky. That'll affect any team, unless you're, as Hugh Izzy was saying, like a Pep Guardiola with a checkbook to just sign Ruben Diaz for 60 million quid. You're not in that luxury position that Wilder's in. A great manager, great man, understands the Blades. You're never going to get a more Blades man. And again, that is a stupid talking about, he loves the club, he knows the club. But in this sense, like, who else are you going to get that really intimately knows Sheffield United and just would die for the club? It's a ludicrous decision, but it just comes down to the ownership. It's a Saudi owner, it's a prince, and he just doesn't have a clue. And these lads don't have a clue, and they are ruining the game. And Newcastle have Mike Ashley, but one of these clowns could be just as bad.
Yeah, I know James said there about maybe it's nonsense, he knows the club. I don't think it is. Like, to an extent, like, would you rather someone who loves the club and is terrible at management, or someone who doesn't care about the club and is brilliant? Well, obviously, you're going to want the brilliant manager, but, like, in terms of feeling connected to a club, having someone there that you can really identify with is invaluable. Like, that's why I'm very much in the Ollie in camp, because he's just a legend of the club and he's a lovely guy. And unless results really nosedive, then I don't want him to get sacked, because I've been there with Van Gaal, I've been there with Mourinho, with miserable bastards who are just they depress you. And it's okay when things are going well, but as soon as results take a turn, you've got nothing. You've got no silver lining there. You've got nothing to feel good about. So it's a huge positive having someone who truly knows the club, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's just so weird that it was just weird. Like, if they'd done it in January, and it was said before, like, it would have made sense. But someone who loves the club as much as he does, boyhood fan, they're gonna get they were gonna get relegated anyways. I don't know what changing their manager at this stage is gonna change. Like, they had a slight turn of form, like they beat United, but like, what do they think is gonna happen? They're destined for relegation. At least with Wilder there, they might be able to bounce back, but they don't have the squad. Their defense isn't what it was with Ramsdale and goals. Like, he's dreadful. They thought bringing Brewster and Ollie Burke in, like, they were gonna fire them to league glory. Maybe a bit of a stretch, but
I'd agree on the knowing the club bit in terms of, you want someone in there who gets the fans and who's going to give everything for the club. But you kind of, and I agree on that point, but just kind of looking at the other side, like what maybe the downside of it, you kind of saw that with Frank, of him maybe be given too much of a chance and being given too much leeway at certain points. I think Frank got lucky last year as well. Like I said before, that it's Chelsea got top four last year, but they only did it with 64 points. And I think the previous 2 years before that, fourth place had, or previous 3 years before that, fourth place had been the threshold for top four was something like 75 points. So I think he got lucky again last year, which is that the quality of the league was a little bit lower. And again, I same with Chelsea again this year. Chelsea are still in the race for top four because they haven't been great. They've been a lot better since Tuchel came in. But even Liverpool have been really poor, and now we're only 5 points off fourth place. So again, I think it's just, I do agree. Like it's you do want someone who's, because it wasn't even that he was a bad manager and he was passionate about the club. He's a good manager who was also passionate about the club. So is a strange decision.
Sorry, yeah, Colin, you were saying obviously Ole is great to have around United because he knows the club intimately, and that's a plus if he's a good manager. Say with Frank and Chelsea, like they're both helps, but like those clubs can go out for a Tuchel and go out for the best manager at any given time, United and Chelsea. Whereas if the Blades are stuck with a man who knows the club inside out and it happens to be really good at managing, like he's not Chris Hughton at Brighton, he doesn't have like deficiencies. Like that's you've struck gold there, so it's ridiculous to get rid of him. It's on so many levels.
I feel like it's going to end up in an inevitable return in like 5 years. He'll rock up back at Bramall Lane or something like that. And I suppose this kind of isn't really a Premier League matter as such, because with the view of next season, they will be in the Championship. But who do you think should or could even take over there? I heard Eddie Howe's pretty strongly linked with that job. Is he an upgrade on Chris Wilder?
I think he's a better manager, just straight out. But again, it's whether he's suited to Sheffield, I don't know. This whole thing was like someone coming in that's changed the entire style of play, which he probably would do because Sheffield have been playing three at the back for ever since Wilder came in, pretty much, and Eddie Howe didn't play that at Bournemouth. I think he'd be a good appointment, and of the managers that are available that they could realistically go for, I think he'd probably be one of the best. I don't know who else is really out there at the minute. So I would say if they were going to go for anyone, that's who I'd be going for.
There's one that kind of comes to mind, but he's employed with Middlesbrough. Neil Warnock, he managed him before. There's plenty of clips of him going around saying you have to die for 3 points, but he's the anti-football man, and I feel like he'd be a good fit. And maybe a bit of an out there one. Maybe someone like Martin O'Neill. Like, I don't know, might be a bit far-fetched, but bit bad at managing. He might be looking for a bounce-back job to maybe get back in the Premier League, but it's just a thought.
I think if they're looking to go anywhere as a club, they can't be looking at the O'Neills and the Warnocks. I think they do have to look towards the Howes. And even with the Howes, he had obviously Ramsdale to be the Ramsdale reunion, if you will. Aside from that, you're looking at players like Ake and Wilson. Wilson is a very good pedigree, Premier League pedigree striker. Like you look at Newcastle, he would have single-handedly kept them up the season if he had stayed fit. Like they look like they're going on a bad trajectory, which is besides the point. Well, who did they have in that Blade squad? Like Brewster, McBurney, that's tragic. Like it's not a good squad at all. And how's going to make the most of that next season and get them back in the league? Maybe he can. Like he's still a good manager, but I think again you're not going to replace Wilder with any like for like that's any good really.
Just on Warnock there, that'd be absolutely fantastic to see him going back to Sheffield, just for the nostalgia factor. The only thing with Warnock is like James said, if you want to go anywhere, that's not the kind of manager you want to be going for. Neil Warnock, very, very good at getting out of the Championship. I think he's been promoted out of the Championship to the Premier League more than any other manager. Not very good at keeping teams in the Premier League. He almost always goes straight back down. So, as a short-term solution, I could see why Neil Warnock would be a good idea. But if you want to establish yourself as a regular Premier League team, I don't think he's your answer.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the next manager odds at the moment, and it doesn't really make for pretty reading, to be honest. Michael Appleton from Lincoln, Paul Heckingbottom, who is the caretaker till the end of the season, Neil Lennon, like Eddie Howe, Danny Cowley from Huddersfield, Frank
See,
Lampard,
on the Neil
Nigel
Lennon
Adkins. Like
on a Neil Lennon link there, I saw Wilder immediately linked to the Celtic job, which would be fantastic.
Brilliant.
I'd love to see that.
Yeah.
One of the
Be
few
really
Irish football
good.
fans who doesn't particularly care for Celtic, but it'd be brilliant to see, especially if you could get one over Gerrard, because he is doing my head in at this point.
He'd be a great appointment, and he'd also, like, he's just a bit of a bastard, isn't he, Chris Wilder? Like, that's probably a huge reason why he ended up being sacked, because, like, he was being a bit
he
of a
was
prat. Like,
a whinger. Him and Klopp's like going
Yeah.
out in the press conference. I know Klopp's a bit of a shy talker as well, but he's just as bad, if not worse. But half those names you're after reading out, Connell, convinced they're FIFA regens. I haven't heard of a lot of them people.